Blood for Poppies. The Valorn of Liathaven is weak. Some time ago it attempted to expand into West Ranging and reclaim that region for its own. With the aid of the Ashen Knight, the Navarre and the Marchers fought it back, although the price was steep. Their victory, combined with the slow spread of the Trods and the steady increase in the number of people walking them, left the Valon's strength depleted enough that there was a chance to reclaim the West Wood. The Valon never stays weak for long, though. It would have already regained its strength had the Navarre not arranged for a grim winter curse to be laid across Liathaven, one that comes with its own dire price for the people who might make the forests their home. Even with that curse, even with all their other efforts, time has almost run out. By the time the summer solstice dawns over Anvil, the Valorn of Liathaven will have returned to full strength, and any hope of clearing the West Wood would be gone. The situation in Liathaven is further complicated by the presence of the Yatun. While the Empire controlled West Ranging in the north, the Orcs controlled the rest of the territory, or at least as much of it as was not in the grip of the Valorn. Then, shortly after the winter solstice, the Yatun army of the Bear That Swims crashed over the border from Hordaland, and sought to reconquer West Ranging. Worse, for the first time in living memory, the Yatun appeared to have plans that involved engaging with the Valorn directly. Normally, they avoid it as much as they can, placing warning totems to ward against its influence and leaving it to its own devices as much as possible. During the spring equinox, however, they sought to enact a mad scheme to prise open the magical pass of Lanthuven that crossed through the depths of the Valorn so as to allow their own armies to move easily between the northern and southern sides of the territory. They were stopped, however, by the actions of courageous Imperial heroes using the Sentinel Gate to stymie their plans. Now, with the last sands teetering on the edge of the hourglass, the Empire comes again to Liathaven, and it comes in force. 28,000 Imperial soldiers, supported by more than a score of independent captains, march down from the north, from Semasuak. Through the marches of Calavesa and Bregasland they come, down to West Ranging. They do not stop here. The armies have their orders. Ignore the Yatun wherever possible. Strike through West Ranging into the West Wood, no matter the cost. Quote from Liu Tor, General of the Blackthorns. Unleash your fury. March south, we fight our ancient enemy once more. Sneak past the Bear Who Swims and unleash a devastating and overwhelming assault. Save our people's souls and reclaim the lost lands of Taruniel. Strength to Navarre. Quote from Lothin Bloodcloak, General of the Bloodcloaks. Bloodcloaks, ever have you fought for virtue, ever to save those who are in need. The tortured souls of the Valon husks can be denied no longer. We move steadily forward to strike westward to decimate the Valon and free those trapped souls. The North remembers its duty and its trust in the Empire. Fight honestly against the Yatun, and viciously against the Valorn. We will see our ice once again when the job is done. But the Yatun are not there. The Bear Who Swims has gone, and the Yatun champions that fought alongside it likewise. There is no resistance as the Empire crosses the fields and open woodlands of West Ranging, marred as they are by burned patches where nothing will grow, the legacy of Surat's touch upon the forests. It could have been very different. If the Yatun had been left to complete their scheme, West Ranging would have been under their control. Thanks to the Imperial heroes, however, the Empire still commands the region, can still pass through it easily, and most crucially can still maintain supply lines to the armies when they reach West Wood. Half of the Empire's 10 nations fight in Liathaven this season. It's no surprise that the Blackthorns lead the way. They are risking everything on a roll of the dice. Fail this season, even by a fraction, and the Valon's hold over West Wood will be unbreakable. The Drakes of the Marchers are here, as are the Freeborn Fire of the South and the Orcs of the Summer Storm, the greatest and best of Imperial Orcs. The Bloodcloaks and the Fist of the Mountains have marched down from Wintermark, left the battle for Semasuak to aid the Navarre in Liathaven. Their tactics are more considered, fighting with an eye towards preserving the lives of their soldiers against the insidious rot of the Valon. The Navarre at the forefront of every assault. The Empire has not assailed the Valon directly in living memory. The last great victory was the cleansing of Miaran way back at the founding of the Empire, during the reign of Emperor Giovanni. There have been smaller victories since, a region claimed here and there, as the Valorn is slowly driven back towards its heart. But if the Empire can win in Liathaven, they will bring it close to the brink, as close as Hercynia in the far north. The Empire has fought against Valornspawn, of course. Indeed, the battle in West Ranging is part of the reason that the West Wood is in a position to be liberated. But this is different. This is a battle against the Valorn in land fundamentally tainted by its presence. The air is choked with the miasma. Every soldier must fight in the knowledge that if they fall, then the Valon will quickly infest their bodies and raise them as slaves to fight against their former allies. If the priests are to be believed, this will be a fate worse than death, as their souls are trapped forever in their bodies, forced to watch mutely as the Valorn wields them as a weapon against their people. There are plenty of reminders of the fate that awaits them. When the armies cross the border into the West Wood, the Valornspawn swarm upon them, thousands of animated bodies infused with the dark urges of the Valorn. Some of them are truly ancient, almost unidentifiable as ever having been anything even approaching human. Many of them are fresh. Their numbers have been reinforced by orcs and humans who fell back during the back-and-forth battles that have raged through Liathaven over the last 30 years. They are implacable, and if they are not taken down and destroyed, they quickly heal any wounds inflicted upon them. If one escapes, it is soon back again, returned to full strength. Quote from William Talbot, General of the Drakes. Now then, my merry marchers, heed well my last orders. We marched from the bleak and bitter tundra to the twisted bowels of Liathaven. We marched through West Ranging to strike at the Valorn in the westward. Untold horrors birthed from the wickedness of rampant spring magic await, and our toil would be to thresh and drive them back, rather than kill each abomination. Our advance should be measured and steady. The miasma and fell poisons will also be our foes, so let us take no unnecessary risks that would see our comrades slain. It has been my honour and pride to lead you, and carry the legacy of Tom Drake, a marcher, a Drake, a Drake. The husks, of course, are not the only Valorn spawn. During the fight in West Ranging, the Empire saw many twisted mockeries of natural life, and the forces fighting to defend Broceliande have encountered many more. Yet nothing can prepare mortal eyes for the things that lair within the Valorn itself. It is as if the laws of nature themselves are twisted in the service of something else, pure anarchy loosed across the plants and animals, and the hybrid abominations that partake equally of flora and fauna. A hairless bear garlanded with rainbow-coloured roses, in whose depths fanged maws snap and snarl. A tree that breaks apart into thousands of scuttling creatures, each no larger than a human hand, and swarm across the living, leaving only bones behind when they have passed. A grove of oaks that weep acid like tears, burning any that come too close. Ambulatory plants whose incessant tock-tock-tock sounds draw Valorn spawn like flies, and whose sweeping whip-like tendrils bear a deadly sting. Drifting creatures reminiscent of deep-sea jellyfish, but composed of plant matter whose trailing tendrils combine agonizing paralysis with viciously barbed spines that easily penetrate light armor and pierce the hearts of those unlucky enough to come within reach. Then there are etacaps. For the last few years it has become increasingly apparent that something has changed in the insect creatures that lair within the Valorn, an evolution of sorts. The larger ones, and there are many larger ones, are still the same lumbering behemoths they were, barely more than animals. But the smaller ones, those scaled to human or orc, they have become cunning. They use weapons and makeshift shields, and drape themselves in bits of bark and ruined rusting metal to create hodgepodge armour. They chitter and trill, whistle and hiss to each other, showing all the signs that they are somehow communicating. And they seem to hate humans and orcs as much as everything else that lurks within the Valorn does. The depths of Westwood are choked with vegetation, some of it abhorrently animate. It is extremely difficult to coordinate attacks or movement. The Fists of the Mountains and Fire of the South encounter difficulty simply moving, much less fighting, in this terrain. The other armies, however, are bound in day magic enchantments that grant preternatural strategic insight. Normally this would help to predict what the enemy will do, but the Valorn and its spawn are the very essence of unpredictability. In the depths of the Westwood, however, it empowers easier coordination, grants the ability to recognize dangerous areas, and provide warnings of imminent attacks from hidden threats. Quote from Aracelius Ierego, General of the Fire of the South. This season we fight the greatest spiritual threat our empire faces. We will brush past the Yatoon as dust, and bring the intensity of our flame to Westwood, onward to a steady conquest. Fire must be used extensively in the attack on Westwood. The Valorn clusters much of its strength around Spring Regio. Indeed, there seem to be no signs of any Regio that are not aligned to the Spring Realm within the Westwood. The only way to deal with them is to burn them. When the Valorn is at full strength, it heals burning wounds almost as quickly as it heals any other damage to its body, to the trees and plants that somehow compose its being. Right now, however, its weakness makes its healing powers sluggish. Pitch and oil and flame consume the abhorrent plants that surround the Regio, even as they twist and sing and wail and spew out thick, deadly clouds of miasma. In places like this, it hangs like fog upon the ground and between the trees. Even the slightest wounds can prove fatal when exposed to the concentrated miasma, and the soldiers soon learn to give it a wide berth. There are additional threats at these Regio. The children of Yornagor fight to protect the Valorn. They are clever and vicious, and make great use of spring magic. They heal injured Etacap, or grant additional strength to the husks, or simply fall upon Imperial soldiers shrieking, tearing with their woody talons, leaving awful envenomed wounds wherever their fingers so much as glance against exposed flesh. They burn, though, just as easily as the trees do. Quote from Axhind Adric Dunning, General of the Fist of the Mountains. Soldiers of the Fist of the Mountain, we march from Semisuak to Westwood Liathaven, a steady conquest on the Valorn alongside our Imperial friends and allies. Let it be known that Winterfolk keep their oaths and do their duty in support of our empire. We'll be back home soon. We will not be forgotten. 3 people, 1 nation. 10 nations, 1 empire. Even with the careful tactics of many of the generals, the death toll is high. Slightly over 3,000 Imperial lives are lost. Where possible, the bodies of those beyond help are destroyed, but this is not always an option. When soldiers are cut off from their allies, or when entire warbands are overwhelmed, there is nothing to stop the fallen rising as Valorn spawn husks. Some are never accounted for, presumed lost in the depths of the forest, prey to terrible beasts or the poisonous miasma. There is some talk, at night, when the watches are set, and the soldiers try to relax a little, of what could be done different next time. Would magic like rivers of life help or hinder the advance? The Navarre is certain that such unbridled spring magic would make the Valorn worse, proving counterproductive. There is some speculation about a new esoteric ritual with a pretentious name, designed to protect armies from venomous foes. Might that have saved lives here, in the depth of madness? Speculation is easy, but nobody has easy answers. In the end, after weeks of fighting, the Valorn spawn are destroyed or driven back. The foul plants that anchor and reinforce the miasma are uprooted or burned, wherever they are identified. Slowly but surely, the air begins to clear. The frequency of Valorn spawn attacks, their ferocity, and the number of creatures involved begins to slacken. 2 weeks before the summer solstice, a Navarre Vate stands on a low rise overlooking Liath's heart and takes a deep, gulping breath of clean air. She turns to her companions, and in a quiet voice announces that Westwood is, if not safe, then at least clean, freed from the infestation of the Valorn. Her fellows, the Black Thorns who have fought so hard for this day, are tired. Exhausted, really, worn down, battered and torn by the months of fighting, by the horrors they have seen, and by the losses they have suffered. But still, at her words, a ragged cheer goes up. It grows louder, stronger, as the news spreads. The Empire is victorious. The Westwood is clear. The Valorn of Liathaven is contained now in one region, wrapped around the ruins of the Tarunial city from which it came. Quote from Irontide Crag, General of the Summer Storm. Sons and daughters of the Second Legion, we march from Semisuak to begin a steady conquest on the Valorn in Liathaven. We go with sword and fury in our hearts, as was in our blood and way. There are Yatun in West Ranging, near to where we strike. We shall not engage them, but should still be crossed, the respect and honour will be given. There is still work to be done. There are still Valorn-spawned beasts here and there. The miasma is pushed back, and the worst of the abominations fostered by the Valorn are either dead or driven eastward, but the region is certainly not safe. But, with the power of the Valorn broken, dealing with those additional threats is a matter of hunting and killing, tasks the Navarre have a great deal of experience with. The threat of the Yatun still remains. While the Westwood and West Ranging are now Imperial, the territory as a whole belongs to the Orcs. They have already demonstrated that their superstitious dread of the forest of Liathaven is not as strong as perhaps it once was. There may not be many Orcs in Liathaven, but there still are Orcs. Worse, perhaps, with Westwood liberated, they will find it just as easy to move between the northern and southern regions as the Empire will. There is one other thing that perhaps deserves mention. While fighting in the southwest, clearing the Valorn spawn from the woods, a patrol of Orc soldiers from the Summer Storm report an uncanny experience. They find a great grove of trees that seem to be untouched by the Valorn. According to their tale, the air was clear and the Valorn spawn they were fighting fell back and did not pursue them. Once the bulk of the fighting is done, the Blackthorns send scouts to investigate. Perhaps they are already suspicious as to what they might find, given recent discoveries. It is not particularly large, no match for the groves of Miaran or Tarunin, but nestled in the depths of the wildwood stands a grove of weirwood trees, rich, healthy trees untouched by the Valorn. Already, the scouts report, new shoots are sprouting through the leaf mulch, as if relieving the pressure of the Valorn has caused a spurt of unexpected growth. The civil service will need to evaluate the trees, but it seems there is enough wood here for decades of careful wood cutting and logging, although such activity may need to be performed under the constant threat of Yatun attack. Game information. Liathaven. The Empire has conquered Westwood. Along with West Ranging, this means they now control 2 regions. The Yatun control 4 regions and the territory, and the Valorn controls Liath's heart. Now that the Liathaven Valorn is down to 1 region, it is stronger than before. Its entire power focused in one place, experience of the war to reclaim Miaran shows that it is more dangerous now than ever before. For the first time since the fall of Taruniel, it is possible to walk from Western Scout to West Ranging. The victory is not without cost. One price that is paid is that the magical wonder that was the pass of Lanthuven is no more. With the Valorn gone, the night magic that empowered the pass likewise fades and unravels. Further details of the Weirwood Grove located in Westwood will be provided in the Winds of Fortune. Participation, Liathaven. Every character whose military unit participated in the Liathaven fight has received a lingering traumatic wound. It is very hard not to get hurt fighting the Valorn on its home turf. These lingering wounds will be in your pack at the event. The generals of the armies involved, if they did not personally assign military units to the campaign here, may email plot@profountdecisions.co.uk to confirm they were present and that they should also receive a lingering traumatic wound. If you are not a general and your military unit did not support the campaign here, please do not email in. This opportunity to be horribly injured is available only to players who participated in the action. Fighting a sustained campaign with the Valorn is extremely taxing. The military unit of every character who supported Liathaven is depleted. The unit suffers a -40 penalty to effective strength for the next 6 months. You are free to roleplay what this means as you see fit. The most likely explanation is that you have lost soldiers to the Valorn spawn or the miasma. It might be that after seeing the horrors at the heart of the Valorn, some of your soldiers quit or wish to take time off to be with their families. The details are up to you.